Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Assembly meeting to order Monday, May 6th, 2024. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
John, oh, I don't even have the right lists. I'm sorry, I've been writing all over them too. This is Harbor Board. Let me try again.
Not here.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Rob,
Here.
Mark,
Here.
Bob,
Here.
Jay,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Thomas, Donna.
Here. Thank you. Now it's time for the voluntary pledge of allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic
Republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
The next item on the State of Alaska Ken Akerly Fire Service Leadership Award. State Fire Marshal Mark Bronis will present the 2023 Ken Akerly Fire Service Leadership Award to one of Petersburg's dedicated volunteer firefighters. Mr. Bronis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me down here. It's taken us about 6 months to make the logistics to be able to come down and make this presentation. Couple, just real quick facts, just so you understand the importance of this. There are over 8,000 firefighters in the state of Alaska. Our office represents over 240 distinctive fire departments. We have 4 different levels of awards that we offer throughout the year for distinctive accomplishments. And it's, when you start talking about those numbers, it is distinctive. And it's certainly one of the perks of my position to recognize somebody at this, with this caliber. And this year it's for the city of Petersburg. So just briefly, I'd like to talk a little bit about the award, and then we'll get into the narrative of who and why. And they don't know, so it'll be a nice surprise. So the Assistant Chief Ken Akerly's award is based on his dedication and passion for the fire service, safety, instruction in rural Alaskan communities, which exemplified leadership in the fire service. Throughout his life, he worked with purpose to promote teamwork amongst the fire service in Alaska and to improve firefighter and community safety. His enthusiasm for the fire service leadership was infectious and impacted everyone with whom he worked or taught. This award was initially offered as a Fire Officer of the Year award, but based on Ken's impact on the state, which is a minor bunny trail, is when I was a fire chief, Ken actually worked for me. And this is very, very true. The criteria to win, if you will, or to be deserving is better, of this award is the candidate must exhibit an extraordinary commitment to leading in their fire department and earning the trust and respect of subordinates and peers alike. Actions demonstrated on the fire ground, implementing safety policies to improve firefighter safety, or mentoring new and current personnel to dramatically improve the operational effectiveness of their respective departments. Leadership occurs, as we know, at any level of the fire service. So nominees may be any member of the fire service from firefighter to fire chief. Our 2023 awardee embodies all of the above and more. He exemplifies the core elements of the type of service-oriented leadership that Ken Akerly demonstrated. His outstanding commitment to the fire service in the state of Alaska deserves recognition. The Petersburg Volunteer Fire Department has experienced several key turnovers in leadership, and our awardee was at the forefront of filling these gaps. Further demonstrating his abilities, he drafted and updated a number of long overdue standard operating procedures and has revamped the recruitment and orientation program. He showcased his leadership in leading and organizing the junior firefighter program, revitalizing a program that had been non-functional since COVID. Finally, he accomplished all of this while still volunteering for the department full-time and demonstrating the outstanding leadership qualities that led to his promotion as a fire officer and engendering the trust to act in even higher roles as necessary. This year's Ken Akerly Leadership Award goes to
Captain Dan Bird.
Wasn't that? If there aren't pictures, it didn't happen. Right? Okay, I got the pictures taken care of, but on behalf of the Fire Marshal Lloyd Nakano, who was unable to be here. So everyone knows that, please have a seat. Captain Bird now joins a very, very small cadre in Alaska and will, here's the downside, we're gonna put you to work. Because of this award, he now will become part of the cadre that helps determine next year's award. So that's the level we really appreciate the work that you have.
Congratulations, Captain Bird. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Could I get a motion, please, for the approval of the April 15, 2024 Assembly Meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion has been presented by Assemblymember Fine Walsh and seconded by Member Lynn. And Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Jay, Bob, Rob,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the amendment and approval of meeting agenda as presented. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Motion's been forwarded by Member Fine Walsh, seconded by Member Schwartz. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mark,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is public hearings. It looks like we have one, the public hearing for ordinance 2024-06, an ordinance amending the official zoning map for Service Area 1 of the Petersburg Borough to rezone lots 3, 4, 5, and 6, Block 66, U.S. Survey 1252, from single-family residential to public use. Any public testimony regarding ordinance 2024-06 should be given during this public hearing. A copy of this ordinance may be found under agenda item 15A. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this public hearing? Anyone on Zoom, clerk?
I don't believe they need to speak.
Okay, thank you. So that closes that public hearing. The next is bid awards. We don't have any bid awards. Item 8, persons to be heard related to agenda. People wishing to share their views on any item on today's agenda may do so at this time. Do we have anyone? Yes. Please come forward, state your name, and if you would remember, we do have a 5-minute time limit.
Yep, good afternoon, I'm Tom Abbott, I'm here representing KFSK, so good afternoon, thanks for the opportunity to speak. You've got the first reading of the budget coming up today, and I just wanted to thank the finance department for all their work that they put into it and say thank you for including KFSK in the budget with the community service grant. I see that there was a reduction. We can work with that. We're just in our budget process now, so I just wanted to, I was perfect timing here because we started a new service at the station, heavily related with the volunteer fire department. Several years back, there was a series that we ran on the radio, and it's been outdated through time. But it was after a discussion with the Petersburg Public Safety Advisory Board that we put together a series of allowing the public, informing the public about developing an emergency kit for your home or for your vessel or vehicle, a to-go kit, as well as just a safety kit to have, and all of the things that go into it. So there's been a good collaboration between the fire department on this and KFSK. And we got all the approval of the content from the State Department of Emergency Services. So we've posted all of the information on our website, and then through the volunteers at the fire department, they're voicing up the pieces and they're airing daily, and it'll continue for 12 weeks. So it'll be a good information campaign related to public safety for all the citizens of the borough. Aside from the fact that the other services that we provide, you know, it's in the neighborhood of 96 hours of borough assembly meetings, another number of hours on school board meetings, hospital board meetings. There's the number of public service announcements and the work that goes into all of that is considerable. And so we really appreciate the support that the borough provides to KFSK for the service that we provide directly to the borough, and then of course to all the citizens of the borough. So just want to say thank you for the work of putting KFSK in the budget. So any questions or any? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Please state your name and who you represent.
Hi, I'm Sarah Holmgren, and I'm here representing the Petersburg Board of Education as well as myself as a community member. And I know you are all more than well aware of the situation of the school district and funding, but I wanted to just still come and speak today so that it's on public record, but also for those that maybe are listening into the meeting and aren't as up to date as you are on what's been going on at the district. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I'm here to urge you to fund the district to the cap, or at this point, 3.4 million. Most districts in the state do fund to the cap, and we're one of the few that don't. I probably, again, don't need to reiterate to you, but for the record, the base student allocation has not been adjusted since 2017. So we're working with 2017 income in 2024. And for a moment, for those that are listening in here, go back to your income of 2017 and consider, could you live off of it with today's groceries, gases, and utility prices? In addition, Petersburg District has worked very hard to win grants to keep the district running smoothly and continue to provide programs to our students. We did not ask for an increase until just a few years ago because we were able to leverage those so many grants. And this was a great bargain to the borough, but also to the community as a whole. That ability to get grant services have increased, and we can now no longer fill those financial holes with grants. The increase last year and the increase requested this year simply keep us from running off the financial cliff and having to make drastic cuts, lay off employees, and cut programs to the bone, or then completely eliminate them for now. Sitka, Juneau, and Ketchikan fell off the cliff already. Ketchikan is borrowing money from its borough and laying off upwards of 35 employees. Juneau is turning over buildings to its borough, and although it sounds like they may end up having a balanced budget, they would have had to lay off over 30 employees, but they have had over 30 employees quit or give notice since January, thus saving them from the emotional and heartbreaking act of laying teachers and staff off. Sitka is now retracting back after giving their teachers a large salary increase. They'll now have to lay off employees, close programs, potentially turn over the aquatic building to the borough in order to make up their $2.5 million deficit to try and reach a balanced budget. Fortunately, Due to very conservative budgeting, extensive grant writing, and natural attrition, Petersburg is not in the same position yet. Instead of running off the cliff, we're climbing down it. We haven't fallen, but we'll be there soon. Our 2025 budget is based on the last proposal we made to the teachers union, which was rejected. However, we must develop a budget now with some anticipated increases to salaries, programs, maintenance, and utilities. The budget does not pull from our fund balance, so the budget does pull from our fund balance, so it is not balanced. But if we're able to obtain the 3.4 million requested, we will not have to drain the fund balance as rapidly. And once the fund balance is gone, it's gone for good, unless we can make further cuts or revenue increases. We can't increase revenue to make up for these shortfalls. However, the borough does have the ability, and I urge you to consider some of the revenue options Ms. Howe is presenting in the budget. The borough also owns a dearth of land, and although selling some of it would only be a one-shot infusion, it could be what keeps both the borough and district from deficit spending. It does appear we may have a glimmer of hope. The governor hinted at being willing to not cut the one-time funding in the budget that he is being sent. However, I will admit, I do not trust the governor and will not believe it until he actually signs it. It, again, will only be a one-time funding allotment, not a guarantee for the next fiscal year, so we may be back again. But thank you for your time, and please fund the district to the cap.
Thank you. Are there any other people in the audience who would like to speak? Thank you. Moving on to item 9, persons to be heard unrelated to agenda items. Persons with views on subjects not on today's agenda may share those views at this time. Is there anyone in the audience or on Zoom? Thank you. Seeing none, let's move on to item 10, Borough and Safety Committee report. Borough Safety Committee Chair Holmgren has provided a written report to the Assembly. You can find that in the packet. Item 11 is the consent agenda. Nothing on that. Report of other officers. PMC CEO Hofstetter will update the Assembly on medical center activities. Mr. Hofstetter.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Phil Hofstetter, Petersburg Medical Center CEO. I submitted a written report on the latest activities. I'm happy to answer any questions on that. There are 2 things not in there that I'd like to update the Assembly on. The first is, I'm pleased to announce the blasting is complete. So definitely was holding my breath a bit on that. So I want to thank everyone for their patience in that process. And we're moving towards full shovel readiness. So that's actually very exciting and seem to be on track with that project. And the second thing that's not on there is our paddle battle, which is our annual fundraiser for scholarships related to education in our workforce, is on July 27th this year, and we'll have more information as that comes out. But other than that, happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions of Mr. Hofstetter? Thank you very much for your information. All right, it looks like the next one is your U.S. Forest Service update. Petersburg District Ranger Bourne will update the Assembly on Forest Service activities. Mr. Bourne.
Good afternoon, Mayor Jensen, civil members. I'm Ray Bourne. I serve as a district ranger here in Petersburg. Several things to talk about. The first one is the forest plan update. We had community events. We've been going around Southeast Alaska doing that. We have 25 of those we've done. So now we're collecting the data and assembling all of that. On the website, there are links, and you should have this in your folders as well. There's submit feedback. There's a little brochure. You can take a look and feedback on what the assessment looked like. And we're also asking you to get involved and learn more. And the flyer should be included in your packet as well. There's a how do you give us additional feedback. We're in the process right now of doing some initial assessments of what we've learned from all of those 25 community events and putting that together to move forward to the next step. So this is going to take several years. So we got a ways to go on that. But just want to give you a snapshot of that. On the timber side, Thomas Bay, we're marking and recruiting this summer out there. The folks headed out there started this week, laying out that particular unit to take a look at that with the intent to offer a sale later this fall. The plan right now is for that to be 561 acres and about 12.6 million board feet. And that's where we're at right now, headed with that. A lot of work to do, but good plan in place. And we got additional crews coming in to help us with that starting this week. So we'll get that all ready to go for sale later on. Small sales continue along the roadside. You'll see periodically small sales. We're People are harvesting a few trees here and there to do local lumber, local mills, and things like local labor. So that's going forward as well. And of course, free use permits are already always available out there. Robert Dickmore is my acting TMA right now. He's the guy to contact if you have any more questions about timber-related topics. Cabins and trails, lots going on right now. The bipartisan infrastructure law, the West Point cabin repair, as part of that funding, we're gonna replace some of the foundation pieces out there that are rusted out and improve that cabin. And we're looking at extending some of the structural stability out there on that site. Woodpecker Cove proposed cabin to be developed in 2025. We're getting ready to contract the site design for that, and we're still working on the cabin structural design on that's coming together pretty close. We have engineers coming in this week to do some final work out there. And that cabin we built is right now is planned for a two-story cabin, similar to Raven's Roost. Be a pretty nice cabin when it's all done out there. And be a nice site for everybody to utilize year-round, hopefully. We're proposing increased fees at our recreation sites to include the cabins. The public can comment on that. We have 60 days starting May 3rd to comment on these fees and 6 cabins at 1 campground kind of throughout Southeast Alaska. The complete location is on an interactive Alaska Region Recreation Fee Proposal site. You can look at that and provide your comments as you want to. Please include, of course, your name, address, and that's all part of the public record. If approved, the change will take effect in probably late 2024 or 2025. These fees actually fund ongoing operations for maintenance and improvement to provide high quality recreation for everybody. And it will close the gap between the normal appropriations and the cost to maintain and upgrade these facilities kind of throughout the region as we go forward with that. The Great American Outdoors Act trails, Petersburg Lake Trail, we'll continue working on that trail over in Kupanoff. We're in year 2 of 3 years of funding on that. Anyway, I just talked with the crew this year and said we got about 160 trees removed off the trail, so we got a lot of work to do out there. But they're moving forward with that. Hill Lake Bridge on 3 Lakes Loop, that'll be completed this year with addition of steps up to the bridge. Bridge right now has about a gap about this high, get up and off the bridge there, so kind of we missed the boat a little bit on the funding, so we're gonna focus on getting those steps corrected this year and make that more accessible. Homer Creek Bridge replacement, we're gonna move forward with planning to replace that with replace the floating bridge with an elevated bridge across there. That floating bridge is actually structural support now for the Beaver Dam. So we're like, okay, we need to do something a little different here. We're gonna work on that this year and get that moving forward as well. And again, they're working, cutting out trees on Pickoff and Kupanoff Islands right now. And fortunately, we just brought on a new rec staff officer, also Sawyer, so we'll have another Sawyer on the team to help us cut out these trees as we go forward with that. SRS RAC, Secure Rural Schools Resource Advisory Committee. We need 5 more applications. You know, if you're interested in that particular activity, we're looking at 5 more people throughout the South Tongass. Again, we review projects submitted by agencies, by public. You know, Kupanoff Dock is one of those projects we're still working on. But this applies to trails and it kind of, it must be on or adjacent to the Tongass National Forest. So lots of opportunity there going forward with that. And we have a lot of funds to distribute. They're good for 5 years. We haven't spent any in the last 5. So now is a good time to get this rack together to figure out how we're going to invest that money that has been invested into that account. The Tongass leadership team will be here next week. I'll have 25 of the senior leaders from the Tongass National Forest here in Petersburg for our quarterly meeting. We'll be meeting here in the Borough offices, you know, starting on Tuesday next week and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I know be out in the field most of Thursday looking at a couple of sites. Again, we'll talk about priority work on Tongass Forest, and they want to take a look at Mayfest. They targeted that last year, said, okay, we'll be here for Mayfest. Starting on May 11th, we're going to have the Student Conservation Association interns coming on board. We have about 10 of those young men and women coming on board to help us out with trail projects. We see a lot more people kind of around the forest. That's all of my update for today. Any questions for me?
Thank you very much for your time, your information.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, moving on to the mayor's report, and it is that everyone enjoy the upcoming Mayfest and be safe out there. Next item is manager's report. Manager Giesbrecht, would you please read that?
Thank you,
to us?
ma'am.
Thank you.
So sand pickup is progressing and we'll continue to grade streets as the weather permits. Mayfest prep is underway. Crosswalks have been painted this week and we'll continue to finish some of that up. We did clear a very large overgrown right-of-way at the top of PFI Hill, improving some safety and visibility in the area. Outgoing traffic from the cannery now has a better view of vehicles approaching from uphill. Surplus fire engine number 5 was auctioned successfully. Minimum bid was $10,000. We received 2 bids, and the winning bidder paid $15,348.89. Planning is underway for the annual household hazardous waste collection event to be held on June 1st and 2nd. And building maintenance has been assisting Power and Light with some roof repairs and plumbing work for a washer dryer installation at the Power and Light building. Several of us met with various transportation agencies in a meeting facilitated by the Alaska Municipal League. We talked about priority transportation projects in the borough, and the group prioritized 4 projects: Frederick Road, Cabin Creek, Scow Bay, Airport Bypass Road, and Papke's Landing. We will all continue to work together on these projects to see if funding can be identified. Participants included borough staff, the Forest Service, Federal Highways, Alaska DOT, and the Petersburg Indian Association. Water staff is working with ADEC to complete the lead service line inventory. This is a federally mandated inventory in the wake of the Flint, Michigan lead pipe issue a few years ago. The risk in Petersburg is very low, with virtually all service lines being copper, and the borough's corrosion control program keeping any metal leaching to within federal standards. The blasting at the Wellness and Education or Work Center had us a little bit worried about an old water line that was adjacent to that site. Contractor did a great job controlling those blasts related to the water line. No damage or disturbance to the water mains in the area is evident. Thanks to the wastewater staff for setting up the seasonal public restroom trailers in the municipal building parking lot. And we are waiting to receive the draft wastewater discharge permit following any comments by the state and local tribe. Power and Light is planning an open house at the Blind Slough Hydro Project for the afternoon of May 16th from 1 to 3. Hydropower started in Petersburg 100 years ago in 1924, so it is fitting that we celebrate the ongoing benefit to the community and the completion of the newest upgrades to the powerhouse at the same time. We will hold a short ribbon cutting ceremony at 2:30, followed by Mayor Jensen initiating a restart of the generator. The entire assembly, department heads, and public are invited to attend. There'll be light refreshments and be able to compare the differences between the 1929 generator and the 2023 generator. Please come out and help us celebrate. Power and Light has provided additional Blind Slough Hydro project information to the Department of Energy staff members who are managing negotiations for the Section 243 grant. Of note is the DOE project managers have determined that the requirements of the Buy America, Build America Act will not need to be met by our project, as our work is actually complete and the law was enacted after equipment and construction contracts had been entered into. This is great news for the Power and Light staff. It means that the full eligible value of the grant should be forthcoming after the negotiations are complete. It's approximately $2.8 million to the borough. Geotechnical investigations at the Scow Bay generator site were completed recently and verified that the site is well prepared for another large generator foundation. Design work is ongoing to produce a design build invitation to bid that will be advertised this summer. Power and Light is happy to report that our entire staff did a great job in response to the SEPA system-wide outage that occurred on Thursday, April 25th. A series of events that occurred in Ketchikan knocked all of the SEPA communities off the grid, but our restoration with our diesel plant here went smoothly. This was the first total system outage for many of our staff members, and they did great. We are short some employees in dispatch and are looking for some good candidates. So if you're interested, check out the borough's website or talk to Chief Kerr regarding the openings. The chief attended as well as some others, attended the U.S. Coast Guard Port Security meeting, getting ready for our cruise ship season. And Derek is working on updating our documentation for the kitchen processes up at the assisted living. We've been having some issues with our our call system at assisted living. We're working through upgrading some of the computer system which supports the pagers. And Derek is working on wording for our contract at assisted living as it relates to double occupancy in the rooms. It's something we're going to try going forward to see if we can get the revenue up a little bit up there. And I reached out again to Alaska DNR regarding abandoned vehicles at Papke's. We are hoping they will allow the borough to work with DOT to keep the problem under control so users of the facility have parking space. It's just hard to get them to give us authorization. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I actually have one,
Ma'am.
and that is regarding the double occupancy in assisted living. Is that going to be an option for residents who are looking to move in, or is this just the way it is?
There'll be some options, but it'll be highly, we really would like it to happen. How's that? But yeah, if somebody's on independent pay and is paying a higher rate, I believe we're gonna have an option for them to go single occupancy. We don't really, we want to grandfather it, so anybody that's currently up there, we're not going to enforce that unless they are wanting double occupancy. Anyway, we're a ways away, but it's something we're looking into as fast as we can.
Any other questions?
Ma-
All
Mayor?
right.
Mayor,
Yes. Yes,
I have a question for the manager. Who won the bid for the number 5 fire engine, if that's public knowledge? Can you share that?
Yeah, Mike, you go through the mayor, sorry. Mike Etcher won that bid.
Okay, thank you.
right. Thank you, Mayor Jensen. Any other questions? All right, next is unfinished business. Ordinance 2024-06, an ordinance amending the official zoning map for Service Area 1 of the Petersburg Borough to rezone lots 3, 4, 5, and 6, Block 66, US Survey 1252, from single-family residential to public use. If approved in 3 readings, ordinance 2024-06 will rezone lots 3, 4, 5, and 6, Block 66, Survey 1252, from single-family residential to public use at the request of Petersburg Children's Center, who currently leases the property for future development of childcare and learning facilities. The Assembly unanimously approved ordinance 2024-06 in its first reading. Can I get a motion, please?
So move. Second.
Thank you. Motion has been proposed by Member Lynn and seconded by Member Stanton Gregor. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Scott, excuse me.
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Thank you. On to new business, ordinance 2024-07, an ordinance amending section 4.33.030 of chapter 4.3, transient room tax of the Petersburg Municipal Code to increase the transient room tax rate from 4% to 7%, and directing that the amendment directing that the amendment be submitted to the qualified voters of the borough for ratification. If approved by the Assembly in 3 readings, ordinance 2024-07 will bring a proposition before borough voters at the October 2024 municipal election to increase the transient room tax from 4% to 7%. Transient room tax is levied on rental of rooms at hotels, motels, or other lodging for fewer than 30 days. It is estimated that increasing the transient room tax to 7% will generate approximately $53,000 in additional funds to support borough infrastructure and expenses related to tourism in Petersburg. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Motion's been proposed by Member Stanton Gregor and seconded by Member Fine Walsh. Is there any discussion? Yes, Member Stanton Gregor.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'll be voting for this, couple of reasons. One, and Director Tao cut me off as always if I'm missing. The Chamber of Commerce was in support of this, for one. It's a good way to add income to further support tourism, and I think it'd be wise to put it before the voters and let them decide. So I'll be voting for this today.
Thank you. Any other discussion or comments? I'm also in favor of this because 7%, I guess, is the average throughout the state. A few places have as high as 12, but 7% sits somewhere right there in the average. So I think it would be beneficial to the borough to have this increase in funds. Hearing no more discussion, clerk, would you please call the roll?
Bob,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes. Thank you. Next item, ordinance 2024-08, an ordinance amending section 4.33.060 of the Petersburg Municipal Code to clarify the permitted uses of proceeds of the Borough Transient Room Tax. Ordinance 2024-08, if adopted in 3 readings, will further clarify visitor-related uses for the proceeds of the transient room tax. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Member Feinwash has forwarded the motion and Member Schwartz has seconded it. Any discussion?
Question.
Yes, Member Newman.
What will be the new uses of the proceeds? I guess maybe this is directed towards,
First, this is, it's up to the assembly. It will be determined during budget time what the uses will be. This just outlines a little bit broader, use of the funds.
Ross.
Yeah, and I think really this is just a little bit of housekeeping related to that other one. It kind of clarifies some, again, visitor-related uses, so still trying to kind of keep this revenue going back to visitor-related uses and kind of helping improve, you know, the business of renting rooms in Petersburg in the first place. I think that makes a lot of sense, and it kind of clarifies some things and enables the assembly to, I think, apply these funds a little bit more broadly, but still for visitor-related issues. Just kind of a little bit more clarification, which I think will be helpful when it comes time to decide what to do with a little bit extra funding, should it happen.
Any other comments? Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Donna,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Bob,
yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item under new business, ordinance 2024-09, an ordinance of the Petersburg Borough adopting the budget for fiscal year July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2025. The Assembly will consider ordinance 2024-09, which will set the the borough budget for FY 2025 in its first reading. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion has been forwarded by Member Stanton Gregor and seconded by Member Lynn. Any discussion or questions?
I have one comment, Mayor.
Mayor Jensen.
Listening to the testimony by the chair of the school board, and then from our work session, I had a question. If the state comes through with funding, does the school still require the $3.4 million that they're asking for this year? And I guess they still want the money, and I'm in favor of it at this point, but I want to follow the legislature and see what kind of funding mechanism they come up for. The chair of the school board did mention that they'd be tapping into their reserves. Well, we'll be tapping into, the reserves that's set aside for them now. So I'm in favor of the budget as presented at this point. I just want to, make the public aware that there's only so much in that piggy bank. So at some point we will run out of money to fund that as well, unless there's some other source of income. I just wanted to state that.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Jensen. I appreciate the question and the comment. I know we've discussed this at the work session and prior. At this point, our budget is based on the 3.4 from the borough, and we are anticipating, we're feeling a little bit more optimistic, as Sarah Holmgren mentioned, that the governor will not veto the one-time funding that has been passed through both the House and the Senate. We will still be making staff reductions this coming year through attrition. We've had some resignations and some retirements. We will not be replacing up to 4 teaching positions next year. That's with the 3.4 from the borough and with the anticipated one-time 680 increase to the BSA. So we're still making significant reductions in an anticipation of trying to maintain a fund balance moving forward. This is the last year that we'll be able to carry that over the 10%. So it helps with the buffer down the road. So we continue to deal with the instability of the one time.
Yeah, we don't feel that we can bet on getting a one-time 680 or equivalent in the next couple fiscal years after that, when we really are counting on the 3.4 from the borough to carry a fund balance in a fiscal year 26, so that we don't have to make extremely drastic cuts in that year. So if we get both the 3.4 and the 680 one time over the BSA from the state, that just means that we're only making maybe $250,000 in cuts in fiscal year 26 rather than 750,000. Looking at our fund balance trajectory for next year.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions? Member Lynn?
Yeah, well, while we have you on the stand, I saw last week that there was money put into the budget for transportation. And I don't remember the amount and so forth. Does that in any way, how does that affect you, and would that reduce that portion of what you're asking for?
Yes, so 7.3 million was put into the state budget one-time funding. So before there were, bills to actually increase like what it would be every year. This is one-time funding. I have emailed the Department of Education to figure out what that 7.3 actually prorates out to all the districts and what that would mean for what our funding must be. I don't have an answer yet. But it's not sustainable and dependable. It's one-time funding, and we're still requesting the funding of $250,000 from the borough to our People Transportation Fund. If they did end up I don't think it's likely that even the increase will bring us into the black. I think it might bring us close for fiscal year 25, but we'll still be spending fund balance in our People Transportation Fund. But I don't know how much close to being in the black we'll be, but I don't anticipate that we will have a balanced budget and pupil transportation. And then going forward, this is just one-time funding. We do know that our current contract with Stakeen Services is up after fiscal year 25, and we anticipate our rates will increase after that for our next term with them. So we're still requesting that, and because this is the last year, fiscal year 25 is the last opportunity that the borough would even have to make this contribution to pupil transportation outside of the cap of funding. If, the state came through and did like the next year, put it into writing, and it was every year better pupil transportation funding and met the needs, and we aren't deficit spending and aren't having to use that contribution, after a few years, if that looked like it was going to be sustainable long-term from the state, there would be an option to come back to you guys. The board could then, decide to come back to you guys and ask for your permission to use that contribution to then go into capital or food service or another fund that needs support, because there are other funds we're spending, the fund balance is down, that will need an injection, and then those funds could be transferred to those.
Yep.
Is that?
That's accurate.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Perfect. Appreciate the clarification there.
Thank you.
All right. If there is no further discussion, Member Stanton Gregor.
Yeah, thank you. Just for those listening at home, I'll be voting yes on the first reading of the budget today. And for those who don't pay nearly as close attention as us, it's a 6-week total process, 3 readings, second of which is a public hearing. And as of now, the budget is 400,000 approximately, I believe, in the red. That number correct? Yeah, and that is noteworthy, and we'll have to consider maybe options to fix that. I look forward to getting emails from the public or people showing up at the assembly meeting. Director Tao is thinking of some ideas as well, but as it stands right now, I will be voting yes on the budget today. Thanks.
Thank you. Member Schwartz.
Yeah, the public input's important. I'm getting it off. It's not just more expensive to live here for the school. It's pretty expensive for everybody, and you start looking at revenue and how you get it, and belts are tightening. So I'd encourage the public to give their input. Thank you.
Comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Rob,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Department Head Reorganization. Assistant Utility Director recruitment has proven to be unsuccessful. Manager Giesbrecht is suggesting to reorganize departments back to the organization in place prior to creation of the Utility Director position, which was as follows. Petersburg Power and Light Director, Public Works Director in charge of Public Works, Maintenance, Motor Pool, Water, Wastewater, and Sanitation. Assistant Public Works Director to work under the supervision of Public Works Director. Manager Giesbrecht's memo attached in this packet, excuse me, requests the approval to move the water and wastewater departments to be under the direction of the Public Works Director, post an Assistant Public Works Director position in-house this summer, and recruit for an Assistant Power and Light Director beginning in 2025. This position would become the Power and Light Director upon Director Hagerman's retirement in 2026. Could I get a motion regarding the department head reorganization, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Member Stanton Gregor proposed the motion and Member Lynn seconded it. Any discussion or questions? Yes,
I
Member
have,
Stanton Gregor.
well,
Thank you. Thank you, Member Marsh. Just through the manager, because I very clearly remember the process of creating the utility director position. It was something else. Tell us, if you would, please, the challenges you've had in recruitment.
For the mayor. Yeah, we've been recruiting for just shy of a year. And we had one potential, candidate from outside plus some internal candidates that we felt needed more power and light type experience. And what it came down to was some of it's pay, but a lot of it is just finding that unique combination of skill sets just was not available here in Alaska or what we could find down south. The longer we do this, the less time we have for someone eventually to get on board to start training with Carl before he leaves in 2026. So I'm all about banging my head against the wall up to a point, and then it's kind of like, okay, we got to go with a different plan. And the plan that we used to have in place worked really well. Carl was over Public Works with Chris as his assistant, and we had a separate public power and light power director. So I'm suggesting we go back to that model. Still going to take a ton of work as far as recruiting goes, for sure. Both for the, assistant, but I'm hoping we can find somebody internally for that. And then also a replacement for Carl. And by the way, trying to get somebody on board with enough time that they can train with Carl and we don't lose all that institutional knowledge and end up with a, dysfunctional department. So anyway, that's kind of the background.
Yeah, thanks for that context, Steve. Much appreciated.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mayor Jensen.
I have a question for the manager. The recruitment for the Power and Light Director position, is the language in that gonna require someone with power and light experience? Is there gonna be any kind of an electrical degree involved? I know you've been having difficulty recruiting people, but I was just kind of wondering what qualifications were gonna be required to fill that position.
Yes, sir. We definitely are going to need somebody with power and light type experience, whether it's a line crew, whether it's, generation experience, even electrician that, has experience with generator type operations. It can't be somebody that has a very low level of experience. Our department, as small as it is fairly complex. We've got a hydro facility, we've got diesel generators. They have to work in sync, and we're working with power coming in from SEPA. So we really need to find somebody that's got a mix of some of those. We're willing to train on some of it, but reality is it's got to be somebody with good power and light type experience.
Thank you.
Member Lynn.
Thank you. I'm in favor of trying, I like the way that the proposal, the way the manager has it laid out. But I'm still concerned that we don't, having, recently trying to fill positions at SEPA, I still question whether or not we have enough money in the budget to be able to fill that position. And the other part of that, going back to something that the mayor talked about, was that looking down the road, I think that it's going to be very important that we have somebody in there with the skills that we're going to need in the future, and those types of skills, because I think we're going to be dealing with significant increases in power consumption and so forth, as we all know, and from different types of facilities out there. So I think it's important we get it filled, and we get it filled as soon as we can, but I'm still concerned that we don't have enough money in it. Thank you.
Any other
Madam Mayor,
comments? Yes, Mayor
Madam
Jensen.
Mayor, that brings, Member Lynn's comments, kind of bring one more question to mind. Is this gonna come back before the Assembly Manager Giesbrecht if you find somebody for and I'm more concerned with the Power and Light Director position than the other two. Would you bring that back to us before you, offer someone a job, or is that gonna, I understand you do the hiring and firing, but I'm just curious.
I'm required to bring any department head position back in front of the assembly for you to ratify the person as well as the salary. So we would start recruiting if we get, I'm not gonna say lucky, but if we find the right person, we'll go through an interview process. We'll make a decision, and then that person has to be brought in front of the assembly, whether physically or just their resume, with what I've offered them, and the assembly has to sign off on that, or we can't fill the position.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments? All right, hearing none. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Jay,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Next item is new hospital project mud dump fees. Public Works Director Cotta and PMC CEO Hofstadter request Assembly support to waive all mud dump fees for the new hospital project. Memos from Public Works Director Cotta and PMC CEO Hofstadter are included in this packet. Can I get a motion, please?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been proposed by Member Lynn, seconded by Member Stanton Gregor. Any discussion or questions? Yes, Member Fine Walsh.
So maybe PMC CEO of Hofstadter can speak to this, but I mean, would the outside funding for the hospital not cover these fees? I mean, are we avoiding a situation where we could be paying ourselves with some of the money allocated for this project from federal funding? Or are we always responsible for this part of the project?
Through the mayor. So to answer that question, the funding stack for the full project is not complete yet. So any possible savings that we can potentially get is going to be a step forward. So that's, without anything that we can do from the borough side for in-kind, also will look very favorable when we go look for funding requests, whether it's Denali Commission or through the state. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge dollar amount. Could we cover it? Sure, but anything that we can put forward has a trickle-down effect when it comes to some other funding requests. Those look, any in-kind expenses that we have that we can are very favorable, and then anything that we can potentially do for savings, we'll put the project forward as well.
Thanks, appreciate that clarification. That's helpful.
Yep.
Any other comments?
Mayor?
Mayor Jensen.
Yeah, the way I see this, just, I don't think it's a bad idea to approve this, mud dump, expense, being, not charged to the project. During the process that they did up there at the rock pit, if you look at how much it would have cost the city to develop the rock pit so it's usable again, and redo some of the construction at the mud dump, it's gonna save us $150,000 to $160,000. So if you take that off the 186, we're not really putting much money out of pocket. So I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. If there is no further discussion, clerk, will you please call the roll?
Thomas,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Thank you. And the last item on the agenda are communications. Any communications that the assembly has received are in the packet. You can find them online. Any further assembly discussion items? Seeing none. Recognitions? Assembly member comments? Could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, thank you. The member Stanton Gregor has proposed the motion and Mayor Jensen has seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.